in that winter.
So today I'm going to begin the process of recreating what we did on the Comanche here, which is 2x6 quarter wall rockers, some tube fenders, and 2x4 front bumper. There's a couple reasons behind that. Primarily though, I get a lot of mud on my windshield from having just chopped fenders. We live on dirt roads, so that's a real pain anytime it's wet. Also, as you notice here, there's a receiver on the front of this so that we can mount this winch here on the cradle to either of our vehicles. I was originally just gonna cut a hole in my front bumper and slide a receiver in there and weld it out, but recently I have discovered that I bent my bumper this winter. I think just pushing some ice snow mounds. Not exactly sure when it happened, but push up there, and this is bent in here obviously. Another reason that I want to do this is because my rockers are completely smashed. That's what it's supposed to look like, mostly. There is no box shape left to that thing at all. I'm going to go ahead and start with the front bumper. Then I'll probably move on to the rockers and do the tube fenders last. Show you the process here. So I'm going to get a start by measuring this thing for the length, which looks to be about 64 inches. I got this all laid out here. You may notice it looks a little bit funny with this extra bit here. The reasoning behind that is so that I can leave the bottom and bend it up and around the corner instead of having to cut pieces. It's basically 14 inches from here to here and 2 inches down here. And it ended up being 63.5 inches from here to there. It'll end up being 64 when it's all done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this all cut out.
You burn your shirt?
Yeah, I burned my shirt. Now I'm gonna give it a little bit of prep for weld. Got it all cut out and prepped for weld, so next I'm gonna have to bend it up. It really doesn't take a whole lot to get it to bend, but it just wants to spring back there, so I'm gonna have to put some dedicated blows to the corner here. I got this side all clamped down and ready to go. Get this all tacked together so that I can start bending this end of it to cap it off. Got this side mostly bent, but I ran into some clearance issues here. I got to cut off a little bit more of the lip on this rolled corner here. All it bent pretty easily. I just cut this about a ½ inch off the end here. Give clearance for it to go right in there. I think that did the trick. It's a lot tighter. I'm gonna get it all welded up now. So I got a lot of this welded up here, as you can see. Still got a bit to go, but I took a little break to let it cool down to avoid some warping, hopefully. So I'm gonna get back to it. Time for the final four. That'll be it. Now I just gotta get the hitch and the D-rings Probably do that inside. It's maybe gonna get stormy out here. Now that we got this all welded up, I'm gonna grind it up so it looks like it came from the factory like this. Oh, rather grind and sand it. I basically got this thing where I want it. It took me a little while, but I just wanted to take it slow so I didn't end up with any low points that were going to be a problem later, creating a wavy noodle look. So also took me a little longer because I was using a worn out grinder wheel, but that also helped me go slow and make sure that I got it as close to factory as I could. Basically knock down any high points in line with this plane, and then kind of knock down any high points in the plane of the radius, knock that peak down a little bit, and then went back and forth and just rounded it all out. Seemed to work pretty nicely. So now I'm going to go ahead and start working on the receiver part here. All right, final welds. That'll work. That looks pretty darn good. This is 15 inches from this edge to this edge of the receiver. And I got it lined up basically just a little bit down from the top, so when I weld, the bead will be about flush with the top here. Everything's been preheated. About half an hour in the oven on this, some time with the torch on that. Should be good to go. That ought to work. That's one down. I got it cooling underneath that dead glove and another welding apron. This one is all heated up and ready to go. I got it lined up. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld it up now. As you can see, I got this thing all welded up. So next thing I gotta do is bend up the tube for the hoop on the front. I'm going to start taking measurements to figure out this front hoop here. Originally, when we came up with this design, we knew that we wanted the bottom of the hoop pretty close to where the frame connected to the bumper here. So about in line with the frame rails, which also coincided with where these clevis mounts went. As the center of the top bends, we knew we kind of wanted them about in the center of these two slats, or like a 56-degree angle. Somewhere in the 20 to 23 degree range. And the other part of all of this is trying to figure out the length of your tube and where the bend should be. The way to go is to measure to the start of the bend here, which obviously I have something to measure. Normally you wouldn't if you were just kind of doing it in space. You would have to draw it up on some paper or something like that. 10.5, 13 inches between the bends there. Then you would need to know how much tube you need for the bend. It's about an inch of tube for every 10 degrees. Since there's forward lean, you would also want to account for some extra length on the overall piece, a couple inches on either side, so that you can make sure you got enough length to angle it and still get at the height that you want. Which 4 3/4, so yeah, that's actually 5 inches of lean from here to here. Just figured I'd show you what it's looking like, because I got it all drawn up here. As you can see here, I can get the part details, and that tells me the location of the start of the bend is at 10 9/16. The second bend is going to start at 29 inches from the end of the tube, as it shows me how to notch that tube where it meets the bumper there. That's the notch. Pretty cool. So I got my instructions and my notch template cutouts. These things are going to be really handy. I'll go ahead and get that tube cut and show you how the bending process and notching process is going to work. And it's a good thing I took a break to design that part on Bentec, because I got some like 3/4 inch hail coming down, pretty thick on the ground now. Definitely not workable. All right, so I got this tube cut down to 46 inches and 3/16, and I marked out the start of the bend locations for the two bends that are on this piece. They're right here and right here. And as you may also notice, I have the templates for the notches that are going to be at the ends of the tube here. That should make life a lot easier. The other thing I want to do here is make sure that this right here is basically vertical or level. The top of the tube has a weld seam here because this is hot rolled. You generally want to have the seam either at the top or the bottom, so it's not in any of the compression or expansion areas of the bend of the tube. And I'm just using this digital level here to tell me when the top of the tube is straight up and down. I got everything leveled out this way and rotationally within 1/2 degree. I got the angle finder set to 0 with the tube just starting to come under tension. Nothing's loose here anymore. And I got, angle finders on both of those things to keep track of them as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and take it to 56 degrees. Right. My manual ring gauge is telling me 56 degrees. The digital one is telling me 59. There's usually a little discrepancy. At any rate, I know that's where we're supposed to stop, but there's also this thing called spring back. You're going to have to bend a little more than you want to get what you want because there's a little spring to the material. So I'm pretty sure I can give it another 3 to 5 degrees without it being a problem, but what I'll probably do to be smart is just kind of release some tension and figure out how much spring back we're getting for this material before I go ahead and try to finish it out here. It's about 4 degrees, so we should be able to go 4 degrees beyond what we're after, and then with the spring back we'll end up just where we want to be. Indicators zeroed out again. Everything is level within like less than 1/2 degree. So I'm going to just go for it again. I'm going to take it right to 60 this time. Going to go ahead and pop it out and double check it with the other digital protractor. Have to cut out the notches after this. I got this thing all tacked together. You can see I got the front hoop welded onto the bumper here. I thought I was recording, never stopped to check the camera. Unfortunately, it had turned off because I forgot to turn the beepies on. At any rate, working on taking the front bumper off here so that I can contemplate stealing the mounting plates instead of making new ones. So I was thinking when I took that bumper off, as long as the holes for the mounting brackets weren't all wallowed out, that I'd probably reuse them. Unfortunately, when I got it off, I noticed one of them had a bunch of undercut and ugly weld. I might as well just make some new plates. So I'm in the process right now of getting them chopped out. Then I'm gonna have to get the holes, the oval holes made, which is gonna be drilling 2 holes, slotting with a grinder or something along those lines. And then I gotta nip a corner off of them and they'll be ready to weld on the bumper. So. Gonna have to step them up a little more. This bit seems to be worn out a little bit at the size that I'm at here, so I think I'll probably change the bit out to a different one, but yep, I think that size is fried. I made some progress on these plates here. Can get the largest of the bolts through the hole, or at least one hole on each slot. gets really slow once you get to like the 7/16 and up range. And so I'm probably not gonna push all the holes to that size. I'll probably Dremel them out. I even got 2 brand new drill bits to do this, and it's just really slow still. And so I just got this plate Dremeled out here. The slots are really nice. Just checked it with the bolt. They're good to go. So I should have Dremeled them out a little sooner, I think, because that was a lot faster. I got the brackets all tacked on here. Gave them a little bit of extra space off the frame so I don't have to fight to get them in. And now I'm going to go ahead and put it on and make sure everything looks like it's all good and square, just in case I need to adjust anything before I weld them completely. Looks like a pretty, take a step back and check the reveal. Does it look even, or do I need to lower my side? From what I can tell, it seems pretty even. Put the brackets on to tie the tube fenders into the bumper so I could get the holes started. That way they'll be in alignment when I get to that point. I wanted to do that before I started painting, just so that I didn't potentially chip the paint while drilling the holes. I got most of these surfaces cleaned up with the wire wheel and the flap disc. It's looking pretty nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to doing some hand sanding, starting probably around 80 grit and working probably up to about 120, 180 or so. And then we should be good for paint. If you're anything like me, you've probably got some 2-inch and some 1.5 DOM tubing laying around from control arms and steering linkage that you've made. Sand them down, slip them into each other. Then you just need a center pin. I happen to have a bushing, and that fit nicely over a piece of 3/4 inch round stock. Again, every one of these pieces had to be sanded down to fit inside of each other. Turn your trash into a tool. This will be a 1-inch dimple die. So I've never had a dimple die before. Should be pretty fun to play with. Might figure out a way to incorporate this into the new bumper. I got some of these gusset plates cut out for these little corners here. Not that I really need them, but it should make the bumper a little bit more fancy. Then I can show you how the new tool works. Tested it out a little bit. It's pretty cool. So now I'm gonna press this thing out with the dimple die. Works pretty easy. You just put the piece in there, put the other piece meeting like that, and then you just put it in the press. Looks like we're almost there. See, that's about bottomed out. Not too shabby for a homemade tool there. Not too shabby. Get her a little bit straighter using the table, I guess, but that's pretty nice. I'm about to head over to my neighbor's because he's got a torch and he's gonna help me bend up some 3/4 rod in the shape of this piece that was on my other bumper so that I can add it to this bumper, because this obviously is super chintzy and thin and the other one is bent and still on the bumper, so I'm not gonna reuse these. Oh yeah, that's really not hard at all.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't have intro, bro.
It's probably there, huh? Gotta be close enough, huh?
Yeah.
So I got these both tacked on. They run into the top at about the same point here. Bottom, about the same point down there. Got about a similar gap here and here, and a similar gap here and here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start welding this all out. think I got this thing about wrapped up here. Got the sidebars and the extra gussets with the new Dimple Dies installed there, all welded out. Thanks for watching. Make sure to tune in next time where I'll show you how I do some custom color changing paint on my custom bumper.